Now, I know we haven't got long left, so I'm just going to ask you a quick question about the other show on BT Sport on the same night, which is the exhibition, or so-called exhibition, between Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. And as we haven't got long, all I'm going to ask you is this. Would you fancy fighting the winner?
No. At this stage, I wouldn't fancy fighting the winner. I love both fighters. I think both fighters, I hope they represent themselves best they can. But we also need to remember they are in their 50s. So it's like us judging Usain Bolt on a sprint when he's 50 and he only runs 12 and a half seconds. You know, you could say, you've disgraced yourself. Look at that time. It's embarrassing. No. How about if you get out Carl Lewis, Linford Christie, and get them all to run when they're 50? It's just, okay, this is how they run now when they're 50. So as long as people aren't trying to judge them for how Mike Tyson was 35 years ago, I think we'll be okay. I definitely feel they'll be in as good shape as they physically can be. I just believe the fact that Roy Jones Jr. has had 32 fights in the last 20 years is very notable, and Mike Tyson's only had 8, of which he's only won 3 in the last 20 years. That's not the best resume going into a fight in your mid-50s against a guy who's been as active as Roy Jones. And not only has he been active, he's one of the most defensive geniuses and specimens ever to walk the earth. And if anyone could somehow get a wind back the clock, you know, Roy Jones for 8 2-minute rounds, what they're boxing, I think you'd do that. Mike Tyson, I think, maybe roll back the clock for 5-10 seconds twice a round, maybe. And then that's it. I don't believe he's going to have many bursts. Yeah. I think the first burst and how much rest he needs after his, let's say he pins Jones against the corner. He's been hitting the pads like he's doing. I've seen some fantastic pad and bag work from Mike Tyson, but I've only seen it in 2 or 3 second bursts. Yeah. Like and they've all been cut together, and he looks fantastic. I want to see what happens when Mike Tyson lets his hands go for 10 seconds, pins Jones against the ropes. Roy Jones is going to have got a very, very good defense, good eyes. He can see what's coming, and he should be able to see Mike Tyson's shots coming because he's a lot older and a lot slower. So after Mike Tyson's let off that first barrage, how long is it going to be before he can throw his next? And in that gap where he's recovering, how much damage is Roy Jones going to be able to do with him? Peppering him with that jab, showing the lead left hook and catching him with those shots. Maybe a hitting Mike Tyson's body. When was the last time Mike Tyson took some heavy body blows? You know, although he looks fantastic, but there's a conditioning that's required to be able to absorb the abuse that a professional prize fighter takes. I'm not sure how much over the last 20 years he's done. One training camp in 20 years of, you know, not much real activity, particularly coming off a couple of really heavy losses, Kevin McBride and Danny Williams. It's that's not the best preparation for any. But then again, Roy Jones is obviously in a similar boat. He's coming off, you know, a lot of victories over guys that obviously not in Mike Tyson's league, but he's been active. He's been through training camp. He's been in there. He knows what it's like to warm up, get in the ring. He knows what it's like to get hit. You know, so I'm just heavily favouring Roy Jones Jr. in this fight. Obviously, way past his very best, way past his best, but he just seems like the guy who's been in boxing and's been in the gym, been doing seminars on boxing. He's been doing some training with Chris Eubank Jr. So he's in there, he's working, he's in the game. Mike Tyson's kind of stepped away from it over the years completely and utterly. Started up a weed farm and all that. I'm not sure that his cardio going into the second half of the fight, going into that 5th round. But I don't think it will. If it does go into the 5th round, I don't see that being very beneficial for Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson needs a 1st round knockout, latest 2nd round knockout, because if he doesn't, I believe Roy Jones will just have some fun. I think Roy Jones will be able to have some fun in there against a static target who might not have the engine.
Brilliant. Well, always a pleasure to talk to you, David, and an education, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks a lot, mate. See you soon.
Cheers, mate. Take care.